I'm Danny, and today I'm here with my December wrap-up. Okay, so this month started out pretty awful because the first book Stop licking the book. The first book I tried to read was just, it was bad. I've seen the movie before and I never knew it was a book. So of course, when I found out it was a book, I immediately added it to my TBR on Goodreads. And I was at the library one day and I saw it, so I picked it up. And that is Queen of the Dam by Anne Rice. This was just, it was bad. It was bad. It was not so much the writing, because the writing was kind of nice, but way too many big words and flowery words. It was just like, come on, you could have said that in one sentence instead of stretching it on for 3. But then instead of telling a story like it would usually be from the main character's point of view and maybe from another character's point of view, this was told from like 11 different people's point of views, and each one lasted maybe about a chapter or so, and then it would switch to another character, and it was all just leading up to this event that the main character kind of sort of told you about in the beginning. And so it would just lead from one character to the next, to the next, to the next. I'm like, can you just not keep me in the head of 1 or 2 people, even 3 I can handle, and just tell me the dang story from the beginning? Don't have me reliving it through these people's thoughts and not even get to the main event. So I only made it to, I think I made it to exactly 100 pages. Hold on. I know exactly what chapter I was on. I made it to chapter 118. Chapter 118. I made it to page 118, which is only chapter 5. Usually by 100 chapters in, usually about 100 pages in, you usually are at chapter 10. This was only 5 chapters, so, but yeah. I just could not deal with leaping from one person's head to the next person's head to the next person's head. I'm like, just tell me the story. I do not need to hear what happens before the story starts from the main character's head. And of course, again, I was completely confused because the way the movie started, it was like he had just woken up after like 100 years of sleeping. And then he found his band, he turned them, and then eventually they get a record deal. And then the story continues on from there. This started off from like just before the concert, like halfway through the movie. So yeah, I did not like this at all. I gave this 1 star, maybe 1.5. It was bad. I did not like it at all. Next, I read Succubus Blues by Rochelle Mead, and I was so thankful to get to this because I've actually had this audiobook for a while. For some reason it wasn't working, so I actually picked up the book, and like as soon as I picked up the book, the audiobook started working again. So I did listen to this on audio, but I really did like it. I know Rochelle Mead has her vampire series, but I wasn't in the mood for it, so I tried something more adult. And this is about a succubus named Georgie, who is like thousands of years old. It's never quite told how old she is, because even her and her friend, they're both like older than the rest of the people in their friend group, but neither one of them will admittedly confess to how old they are. So they'll have this drinking game, like it's like, I remember when, and it'll be like, I remember when the Industrial Revolution came in, and then if they both have that, they'll drink. But so they've been back only to the Industrial Revolution. They haven't gone farther than that. So again, we don't know how old Georgie is. I'm pretty sure that maybe she might be from like the Roman or Egyptian times. Actually, no, I think she's older than that, because I remember she was thinking about when Rome started conquering all the other territories and everything. So she's definitely older than that. So from like when Rome was in like its peak before the fall of Rome, she's older than that. But we never get an actual age. So Georgie works in this local bookstore. I'm not sure if it's a used bookstore or if it's a bookstore. I know it's not like a huge branch or anything, but it's a nice size bookstore. And so she finds out that her favorite author is coming to her bookstore. So of course she is like obsessed with this author. Not like I'm gonna stalk you and kill anyone you date obsessed, but she's really into this author. So she's working in the coffee shop when someone doesn't come in for their shift, and then she starts flirting with this guy, and I'm like, he's the author, isn't he? And of course exactly who he was, and she's completely mortified because she was ripping on not his books but his fans, how they always ask him the same 3 to 4 questions, like, when are these characters going to get together, or will this happen, will this happen? So it's the same 3 to 4 questions always. And he says, oh, it's not that bad. He says, I bet he wants to impale himself after having those questions at every single book signing. And he's like, well, I don't know if I'd say impale, but of course at this time she doesn't know it's him. And then she starts talking about how she would willingly be his love slave if she could receive advanced reader copies. And so when he walks up on stage after she says this, she's like, oh God, no. So she's completely mortified, and because she is a succubus, she is not a demon, because I know the myth says like succubus are demons who suck the life or souls out of men. She's not considered a demon in this world. She's considered a succubus. Like a succubus, a demon, and vampires, they're all different things, even though most mythology and stories have them being demon somewhat. They're just not demons in this book at all. There's demons, there's vampires, there's succubus, there are imps, there are all sorts of different magical creatures. There's even one angel in this and 2 Nephilim in this. And so eventually, in the beginning of the story actually, you start finding out that someone is killing off all these supernatural creatures, and Georgie is like suspect number 1, because every time she's had a conflict with one of these creatures, they die soon after that. And because that kept happening, I guessed pretty early on who the bad guy was. Oh, it was very funny, and there was lots of sexual humor in this because Georgie is a succubus. She lives and feeds on sexual energy. So if you have a problem with a main character having more than one sexual partner, this probably won't be the book for you, because Georgie has 3 sexual partners, and 1 person who she does want to be with, but he's a good guy. And while with Georgie, she feeds off sexual energy, like I said, and feeding off of a good person's sexual energy gives her more power and more energy than feeding off like a person who's already bad. So if she were to feed off of like a really good guy, you know, the guy who's chivalrous and treats you with respect and he values women the way men should, she gets like a really powerful kick off that. But if she were to like feed off of a rapist or murderer, the kick is a lot less because their souls are pretty much already doomed. But I did enjoy this. There was a part in the middle that kind of sort of dragged, but then it did pick up again after a few pages, and I did enjoy this. And I'm not gonna continue the next book straight away, but I will be continuing on with this series. I gave this a 3.5 star. Now this next book, I put into a request for my library like maybe 2 months before it came out. And even with that, I was still stuck on the waiting list until about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, up until 2 weeks ago, I was still stuck on the waiting list for this, but it finally did show up. And that is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White. I wanted to read this for Halloween, but like I said, I was stuck on the waiting list for this. But I did enjoy it. The beginning was really good, and there was a part there was a good chunk of the middle that just kind of dragged until she finally realized who was doing all this killing and why her friend died and what happened to her. When she finally realizes that, the book does start to pick up again. But from about the time Victor left the second time up until after her wedding and she realizes who the killer is, that's when the book starts to pick up again. So from that point to that point, it just kind of dragged a bit for me, and then it picked up again towards the ending. And I definitely have a ship in here that I'm not sure if it really is a thing, because there were kind of like little hints, and it could have just been the two of them happy to see each other or just like each other, but I got a little bit of romantic feelings from them, maybe, but that could just be me. I might just be the crazy person who sees a ship where there is none. Kind of like with Azrael and Elaine from the ACOTAR series. I see a ship there, but according to Sarah and my other friends who have read the book, there is no ship there. But I want a ship there. I mean, I don't like the idea of her with Lorcan. I want that ship. Even though even the author has said that there will not be a ship between those two. So yeah, so I definitely did like this book. Like I said, the beginning was good, the middle dragged a little bit, and the ending I really did enjoy again. And I would give this a 3.5 star. Next, I have the Solace graphic novel by Gail Carriger or Carriger. I've heard it pronounced two different ways. It looks like Carriger. It could be Carriger and it could be Carriger. I don't know, because I think I've always pronounced it Carriger, but I have heard people pronounce it Carriger. And maybe it's just one of those things you could pronounce either way. But like I was saying, I tried listening to this audiobook a few months ago and I just wasn't really into it. And so I decided to try the graphic novel, and I did get pretty far into it. And I would continue finishing it, but unfortunately it's due back today, so I really got to rush it to the library because the library closes in like an hour at this point at least. Or at least an hour when I started filming this video. It might be 30 minutes now. So yeah, I did like it. It definitely had that humor and that wit, and I did like seeing some of the characters' faces, although I'm pretty sure that when I go to read the book, I'm pretty sure that when I go to listen to the book again, they will probably not have these faces at all. One thing I was sad about is that, as you can see, it's in black and white, but the first few pages are in color. I was really looking forward to this. You hardly ever see graphic novels with these kind of colors anymore. Like, most of them are just pretty much like this. Well, I guess not graphic novel, mangas. You don't really see any mangas with colored pages. So I was really looking forward to that. So you can imagine my disappointment when I turned a page and it turned black and white again. So it's like, God dang it! I really wanted it to stay in that color. It was absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I was pretty disappointed with that. But from what I did read of this, I definitely would give this a higher 3-star rating, maybe a 3.3. But I want to completely finish reading the book or the graphic novel. I may try and check it out again if there's no one waiting for it. But I did enjoy it. It definitely had her witty sense of humor and her feminism, and it was pretty much, well, the things I have come to expect from her by reading her Finishing School series, which I believe is the prequel to this series. And I've heard that you do see main characters from that series come in later on in this series, and I'm hoping Sophronia and Soap come in because I really, really want to see them. Well, that is my December wrap-up, and I'm going to try and get this up as soon as possible because, as I said, today's the 28th. I've only got like 2 days before the month is over, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!